For over a quarter of a century, the best paintball teams in the world have gathered in Orlando, Florida at the end of the year to answer a simple question through a hard test. Who is the best on the biggest stage at the last event of the season? Over the years, the World Cup has been the scene of gunfight magic, a place of battle where skills earned through hard work, applied in the biggest of moments, has forged talented names into legend. But this year, the COVID pandemic has deferred dreams, stopped stories, and the entire sport at its highest level was put on hold. With only one NXL event in the books, the middle of the season became the longest offseason that we have ever had. But the brakes are now off. World Cup 2020 is just on the horizon, and the 4-day battle to see who is the world's best paintball team is almost here. Who will emerge as the champion? Go watch all of the intense battles now from the 2020 NXL World Cup, only on GoSports.com. The driving mission at Go Sports is to bring you the best paintball content and broadcast in the world, behind the scenes, in the pits, and on the field. To continue this mission, we're rolling out a renovated website platform across the board with easier search functions and a more robust chat system for better interaction with your fellow fans. Dive farther into the game with a new integrated stats portal. Get your insight into the game anytime, anywhere, with an improved functionality across all mobile devices. Check it out now. Sports Live with Matty Marshall. I got Christian Collins here in the hot seat today. New pickup for the Outlaws, and also going to be throwing down in the Ultimate Shootout. So we're going to be talking about his story. We're going to be talking about his team, and we're going to be talking about the lineup for the Ultimate Shootout. We're headed to Texas to film it. Not this weekend here, but the upcoming weekend after that. And Christian draws J-Rab out the gate. So, hey man, you wanna be a lion, you gotta get in the lion's den and take down some lions. So I'm looking forward to talking to you about this. Real quick though, again, we will be having episodes of the Ultimate Shootout starting here. I think late February is when they're gonna start dropping once we go and film 5 and 6. And then I'm ramping up for the 2021 season. But Christian, let's jump into it, man. Oh, and also Billy Bernaccia next week on Tuesday. But Christian, let's jump into it. Let's start with this. How stoked are you to play J-Rab right out the gate in the quarterfinals for the Ultimate Shootout?
Yeah, it's exactly kind of what I wanted. He's one of the best. He's been at the top for a while. I don't think he's ever played for any of the lower tier pro teams, or I don't really know the guy's whole history, but you've seen how well he does with impact, and at any given day, he's one of the best players in paintball, and to be able to play him it's just amazing for me. I can't really put it into words. I got a lot of respect for him, but he's a chump and he's getting smacked down in this Ultimate Shootout.
I love it. Well, so look, J-Rab is a legend, but we had a good conversation on the phone. The reason why you got this shot is you come from an area of the world that I respect. You're from Atlanta. You are from the Midwest. Well, you're playing for a team from the Midwest. But guys that I respect have said really good things about you, and I've noticed how much you've been grinding. So, and then also you were getting a little chirpy with Nick Sloviak at the Pro Invitational, which I thought was hilarious. And I didn't know you had that fire inside you. And then you had a couple good points where you played aggressively out there. And what we're looking for when we're filling out a roster for the Ultimate Shootout is we're looking for some legends, guys like Billy Bernaccia, Justin Rabackoff, and Ronnie Dizon. And then, Harris Hussein, he's not quite a legend yet, but he's trying his ass off to get to that point. And he's had some good looks out there the past couple of years. He's had some amazing moments for New York Extreme. and he's worked his mouth off to get there. But he's also been flying around in different parts of the game. He's out in California one weekend, he's in Florida another weekend, or week period. Really grinding to try to become the best player that he can be. So we kind of filled out the top 4, and then we're like, okay, well, we need some up and comers. We need some guys that are kind of willing to throw down against these dudes that are not scared. And enter Sam Soberg from Level, enter yourself, enter the Buftons from Energy Elite. So that's kind of how we're trying to get some guys that want to shoot the moon and want to see what they're made of, and then some guys that have a big, huge legacy to protect and are expected to do very well at these things. So I have to tip my hat to J-Rab, Billy, and Ronnie, and then also especially and Harris too, but especially those 3 guys, because we're talking about world title holders, we're talking about some of the best in the business, and they do have a lot to lose, because if Justin Rabackoff shows up and you somehow find a way to get past him and get into the semifinals, I mean, that would be a huge moment for you, and that would be a gigantic bad look for J-Rab. So I'm just really happy that you were willing to take the challenge of having to come in and play a legend out the gate, and that J-Rab was willing to come in and and put his reputation at stake. And we've already seen some guys kind of make their way. So I got a lot to talk to you about. I want to hear about your history, because we were talking about it off air, and I had to respect the grind. And again, that's one of the reasons you got this shot. But this ultimate shootout, I think, is going to be interesting. Let's just kind of, since we got it on the screen here, I want to talk about these other top 4 guys besides J-Rab. Let's talk about Ronnie Dizon, because you're on the same side of the bracket with Ronnie. So if you do find a way to get past J-Rab and Ronnie can get past Sam Soberg, then you will be facing Ronnie Dizon in the semifinals. And whoever makes it to the top 2 gets a chance to go on to play for the big money at the finale. So what do you think about Ronnie?
I mean, so all I know of Ronnie is just his YouTube channel, and so his YouTube channel, he's seriously on his drills. He's doing everything that he can to improve as a player. And then watching him play, he's really aggressive. And he's really, I mean, he's just going to be a challenge, but I think really everybody in the shootout right now is looking like they're going to be a pretty good challenge.
Well, let's talk about your game a little bit, because I was impressed by the aggression that you brought. And I mean, you're definitely not a small guy. You're a big dude. Let's talk about your size real quick.
Yeah.
I was joking on the webcast. I was like, this dude out here looking like a tailback. And then you came up to me later. You're like, nah, bro, I'm not a tailback. I'm a tight end. I was like, okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're well over 6 foot tall. Yeah, there you go. So 6'3", 230. But you got some speed on you. You're definitely an athletic dude. I love it when big men play the game. Yeah. But you think so? You think you could take Mouse?
Oh, easy. That's easy money.
Okay. All right. Mouse, we might have a race for you.
You guys just haven't seen it
yet. But it was pretty funny. I saw it a little bit at Florida. You're definitely pretty fast. And we saw how, if you look at like the ultra aggressive guys, kind of Chad Boucher, but he had, Boucher, he had a very interesting way of playing that. He played really aggressive, winning the ultimate shootout, and Chad's a really aggressive guy. You seem to be, and I haven't seen you play a ton. I've seen you play 10-man in the woods, and I've also seen you play in X-Ball. But in both of those formats, you were, even though you are kind of a giant dude, you were playing really aggressive. And that's kind of, I thought it was interesting with the matchup, because Justin is very cerebral. He can play really aggressive, but he can also gunfight, and he kind of looks a little bit like Matt Jackson out there when Matt Jackson, but he has a similar style to the way Matt Jackson plays the game, and Matt Jackson won the first one. So for you should probably go watch some tape on Matt Jackson in Ultimate Shootout 1. And then Ronnie and Sam are both super aggressive guys. But talk to me, like, define your game for me, to everyone out there. How would you define your own game?
So yeah, I play aggressive. And really I play aggressive because it's fun, and that's just kind of what I've known. Most of the time, if I'm on a team, since I'm one of the faster guys, then they put me up front, and that's just where I'm used to playing. So being up front and playing aggressive is just kind of what's natural for me. Jeremy lately has been trying to teach me how to sit back and be as a 2 and play the game more or slower and kind of figure out what's going on in the game and let it play out so that you can win points. But me really as a player, I'm a pretty aggressive guy.
Because I mean, kind of when I felt the points you had at the Pro Invitational where you were shining, you were playing aggressive. The points or the games really, because it's 10-man, you don't play points. But the games that I saw you have at Florida that one time who were you playing with? Ground Zero? Was it Ground Zero you playing with down in?
That was Doc's Warriors, amateur.
Okay, Doc's Warriors. But it was just I saw you kind of pushing the issue. And again, you're a giant dude. So I'm like, who is this giant dude that looks like a football player? And I'm like, oh, okay, he's a front guy. Oh, he's going to run all the way to the trench off the break. Oh, he made it. Okay, that dude's pretty fast. Again, you're like a bigger version of Mouse out there. And because Mouse, I think, about 6 foot. I mean, he might be a little bit taller than 6 foot, maybe a little bit shorter, maybe a little bit taller. I'm not exactly sure. But that's kind of what your play style, at least when I was looking at it, kind of reminded me of. And it does make sense because, if you're trying to put a team together and you get an athletic dude who's pretty fast and aggressive, you can't really teach aggression, as we talk about all the time. Obviously, people can become more you can't teach speed, and people can become more fit. But what you have, that natural ability, the ability to try to play an aggressive game and push the issue, the fact you are an athlete, I mean, those are just things that you're not always going to get that in a player, so I can see why you're getting these opportunities. I kind of want to hit pause a little bit on the conversation. I think this would be a good time to hit pause on talking about the Ultimate Shootout and talking about some of these other teams. I do want you to kind of discuss the Outlaws a little bit. I've known Jeremy forever, and he's gone through different. He seems to be rebuilding that team every couple of years. So we're on another kind of quasi rebuild with the Outlaws. So I want you to kind of characterize your teammates and what we saw this past weekend a little bit, and what people are going to see in 2021. But let's talk about your story here, because, you started in Atlanta, you said, and you told me a hilarious story about showing up to play at Lane Wright's field. And I love Lane Wright. Got to work with him at the PSP. So tell me that story about showing up at Lane Wright's field and how that went down to start out your entry to paintball.
Yeah. So it was kind of it was like maybe 1 or 2 months, or it was like 2 or 3 months after I first started playing, and I got, bored at my local field that I was playing at. Went around to a couple different fields and finally found my way to Lane's field. I show up and I don't have my wallet. I don't have anything on me, like I realize it as I'm going to pay up front, so I'm like, how, like, I don't have any money. I'm an hour and a half away from home. I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to go home. I'll be back. He's like, no, I'll take care of it this time, just pay me the next time that you come back. And I'm like, dude, you've never even met me before, like, I don't think you understand. Like, I could just leave with this money, I could just play and just leave with all your money and never come back. But sure enough, I came back, and I've been back every single week since. And he's probably one of my favorite guys to talk to. I talk to him a couple times a week. He's a good friend of mine. I love Lane.
Yeah, Lane Wright is a really good dude. I played against him back in the day on Image, worked with him in the PSP. I mean, he used to run the PSP, and now he runs that field out there. But then also you started kind of with that from a team from that area. Is that where you got into tournament paintball at Lane Wright's field? Yeah,
we kind of, or Lane and Gant McClellan kind of started back Team Extreme. And so we were going to do like basically a farm team out of Atlanta, and just, have every division playing super well. And so it started off extremely well. I mean, we had a whole lot of guys. Everybody was doing their part that we needed to do for the team. We played our first few events, and we won, the first couple events that we did, or if we didn't win it, we were getting like second, third. And then eventually, it kind of, we lost our leadership. Gant had some personal things come up in his life, so he had to kind of step back. And after that, the team kind of fizzled away. But that team was going to be something pretty good.
Well, and that was only a couple of years ago, and this is why I just,
it was,
again, people always ask me, it's like, they're like, okay, well, what's going to happen when these dudes retire? This happens, that happens. I'm like, look, man, we see new blood come into the sport on a regular basis, and that's one of the reasons, like, when we start talking, I heard your story. I'm like, oh, this is great. These are the type of people we need, guys that are willing to travel, guys that are willing to have jobs, guys that kind of have stuff squared away, but they're willing to, but they really want this. and they're willing to put the work in to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, if you're willing to do that and you have your regular life stuff kind of at least squared away enough to be able to, play the game a little bit, you can find opportunities. Obviously, it does help to be a dude who does look like a tight end. I was going to say a tailback again, but it does help to be blazing fast and jacked. That's definitely helps out. But that being said, is that if you happen, but also you could be 5 foot tall, you'd be Kyle Spica size too. He's not 5 foot, but he's perfect snake size. Or you could be Mouse. It doesn't matter, man. Like again, it doesn't really matter. It's all about what do you bring to the table. It's one of the best things about this game, dude. It doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter what you look like. All we care about is how many people are you going to go out there and shoot for us, and are you an asshole to hang out with? Oh, you're not. Oh, you're cool, and you're going to be there on time. You're going to show up, and you're going to go shoot people. All right, bro. Let's get you in some reps and see how it works out. So that's why I think it's kind of cool. All right, so let's take that story from. So you're on Team Extreme, because then again, I've seen you out playing, and I love people that play both sides of the game because I love the woods ball. It's where I came up. My heart is still there in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
But obviously, I'm a giant, huge paintball nerd, so I love also watching the best of the business. And I played, obviously, watching it all go out of the woods and into airball. So airball is fascinating too. It's kind of the difference between whiskey or beer. They're both good. Just what type do you want? Like a super hardcore experience that's like really potent and it's very, very, it's right there and easily accessible. Or you want something like a little bit more smooth, a little bit kind of take some time to get to where you're trying to go. And that's more like NXL type like airball stuff to 10-man. Yeah. Sure. So how did you get into doing the 10-man? So you're playing with Lane at Lane Wright's field, and you're playing with Team Extreme. But then didn't you also end up on the Saber Wolves? Like, kind of talk me through your 10-man adventure. Like, how did you get and play for these different 10-man teams?
Yeah, so I'm on the Saber Wolves now. I just kind of got on with them as a player, but so Lane had a 10-man at the field. It was right before I played my first tournament. I think it was in December of December of 2018, I think it was. And that's kind of when I met all the Saber Wolves guys. And then Gant had us playing 10-mans. That was our first tournament. Like most of our team's first tournament ever. So I've kind of just never been impartial to playing 10-man or playing X-ball. It's just kind of it's all paintball to me. But then after Team Extreme broke up, I kind of took a break, if you want to say, from playing X-ball, and had some friends on Doc's Warriors and started playing with them. So we went to the first ICPL and did fairly well there. And then went to the second one. Or we went to the first ICPL and got second there, went to the second one and we won that one. And that's kind of when I was like, maybe I'm going to just stick around and do 10-man. I really didn't have an X-ball team after that, So doing that, played with Docs for a year. Then Archie from Ground Zero hit me up and he's like, you want to come over to GZ? I was like, sure, yeah, that's fine. Went, played with GZ. And that they had just secured the pro spot in ICPL. So, that was, and they did super amazing at ICC. I think they got like third or fourth, and they were playing lights out, so I was like, yeah, when Archie asked me, I was definitely going there. So we played this past season. That was our first season, which kind of sucks because, it was 2020 and all the Corona stuff. So we only got to play, the 2 ICPLs. We didn't get ICC. We didn't get any of the other fill-in events, and it kind of sucks, but, it's whatever. But finally, I've known the Saber Wolves guys basically since I've been playing paintball, really. And they've always been, my family. And every time we go to an event, if I'm ever going to be anywhere, I'm going to be in the Saber Wolves pit hanging out with those guys, because I love those guys. So finally they just they're like, hey, you want to come play with us? I was like, heck yeah, I'm not going to play with anybody else. Yeah. So finally found my home there with those guys.
The Saber Wolves are an amazing 10-man team. They've done very well. And I got to hang out with those guys, interview them, and kind of talk to them about their story. And it was just fascinating because was it Pal Owen? I think it was. And then Justin Owen, and then It was just that, yeah. So
Al,
I was in
Justin,
Florida,
Anna,
and yeah,
and
and I
the
can't
kids.
remember
Yeah, so it
the
was all of them.
Justin's son. Yeah, but it's three generations, and it
Yeah,
was just funny to show up in
cable.
Florida and I'm out there. I'm like, is that a tank? Oh, it's a tank. Awesome. Oh, is this a trench? Oh, we got a trench on the snake side. And I look up and I see this old man out there, and I walk up to him and I'm like, hey man,
Al.
how you doing? He's like, oh, I'm doing well. I'm like, you out here walking the field? He's like, yeah, I'm playing this weekend. I was like, I didn't know if he worked the field or if his son was going to play. And sure enough, he's like, yeah, I'm playing. And I'm thinking in my head, this he's getting up there. So we start talking a little bit, and I'm like, you mind me asking how old you are? And can't remember exactly, but he's in his 70s. And then he's like, yeah, my son's playing, and he's like, he's like, I play every weekend. I can't see very well anymore, but I'm doing, I love it out here. Anyway, so he was super into it, and he was the only guy out there from his team walking the field. His son Justin plays for the Saberwolves. I've seen them, kick a lot of ass out there in the 10-man field. And then he was playing with his grandson. It was just this awesome, I just had a son myself, so it's like the cool to see the generations there. I think it's a special thing. What is the difference to you? Like you said, okay, well, because I feel obviously we got a lot of people that watch the show that they're airball players. We have obviously some woods ball stuff too, because we do cover woods ball. But to me, it's like growing up in San Diego, we had a lot of respect for guys. If you're a surfer, and it's the same thing in Hawaii, I'm not a huge surfer, but you had a lot of respect for guys that would surf. They longboard, shortboards. They were watermen. They take their kayaks out. They go get you lobsters. They go fishing. They're watermen. So I have a lot of respect for paintball players that are all types of paintball players. They'll play one-on-ones. They'll play 10-man. They'll play X-ball. They'll go play pump. They'll go play a big game. To them, it's all kind of super cool. They love it, and it's all different elements of the same thing. So since you did kind of come up playing both, and now, like I said, you're playing on the Saberwolves, and that's a pretty top level 10-man team, and now you're helping Jeremy Somm rebuild the Outlaws. That's a professional paintball team. They have not, really been, relevant at the top level of the pros, conversation, but that's something that Jeremy wants to do. He's working hard to do that. He keeps trying to find guys that are committed, that he can keep a core around, that are committed and down for the cause. Hence where, this new generation of outlaw guys come in. But just in general, 10-man, X-ball, like just how do you look at the game? Talk to me about the difference. Yeah.
Well, so the biggest difference for me is that the bunkers are bigger, so I can play up front, and, I'm not sticking all the way out of a snake beam or something like that. I kind of hate it because Jeremy won't let me play in the snake because I'm too big. But, kind of I think it's the same. I think it's better to play 10-man if you're one of the amateur players, because you get to play, if you're playing ICPL, you get to play against pro guys, which you never get the chance to do, anywhere else. But as far as the game is played, it's kind of all the same. I don't know. That's why if you watch the good players or the good teams go, watch Infamous. Infamous is absolutely just an amazing team. They're an amazing team in the airball, and they're an amazing team in the woods. And Infamous is probably one of the hardest teams you can play in the woods because they're a full pro squad and they always play together. And, the same stuff applies. It's just the bunkers are different, really.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're definitely not wrong. The bunkers are definitely a little bit big. Well, some of them are a little bit bigger in woods ball. Some of them don't exist.
When you get to
Some of them are a little bit smaller. That's
kind of
depending on what you're working with, and how the field's laid out. And the field's a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit more kind of three-dimensional topography you got to work with on the 10-man side of things. So, all right, so you go Team Extreme. Let's talk about your story and how you got on the Outlaws.
So I kind of met Jeremy when he saw that Ground Zero made a post that I made it on with those guys, and I guess he knows a couple of them, so he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Jeremy. I run a pro team out of whatever," and I literally never saw this message saying that he runs a pro team. He was just like, I want to meet you sometime, whatever, talk about you coming to play with us or something like that. And then finally I met him at one of the ICPLs. He was playing ICPL Florida last year with Ironman. So I met him there. We talked a little bit, kind of became friends then. And then he a few months later, he made a post saying he needed some refs to go up and ref a an event that they were holding, one of the pro invitationals, the first one that they did. And kind of said that they, if you go up and ref, you might be able to play on Friday. And it's only going to be pros there in the refs, you know, so you'll get to play against the pro guys, you know, and see how the field plays. So I'm like, you know, you get to play against pro guys. I'm going to be there, you know, for sure. And so I drive up to Kentucky like a day early, and I get up there, and we're just me and one of the other refs, Corey Jones, were chilling in the house or in the hotel room, you know, and he's like, hey, you know, I'm going to go out with some friends. You know, if you guys want to come, you're welcome to come. You know, I'm like, sure. You know, we go out, have a good time. And I didn't notice it, or I didn't know, but everybody that we're there with is one of the Outlaws players, you know. So I had no idea who these guys were. I didn't even know that they could play paintball, you know, let alone they were pro players, you know. So we're just having a good time, you know, finally make it home. And then the next day we get out to the field, and, you know, it's Friday. We get out to the field for practice, and I show up and I'm like, oh, hey, it's you guys, you know. And Jeremy's like, yeah, I want you to spin a couple points with our guys, you know. And so we played a couple points, and I didn't play all too terrible. You know, I played, I guess, decent. So, you know, after the event and everything, Jeremy's like, you know, I want you to make it up to a practice with us, see how you do, you know, whatever. I'll give you a tryout. And so you know, he told me when the practice was. I get up there to the first practice, and he's like, you know, you're going to be playing one-on-ones against everybody on the team. And I'm like, fine, you know, that's perfect. So I guess I kind of went into it with the wrong mentality or something like that. But I promise you, like, I played a one-on-one against everybody on the team, probably 3 times through. So we probably played like 30 one-on-ones, and I'm pretty sure I lost 27 of those things. I lost just about every one of them. And the 3 that I did win were absolute luck. You know, I did terrible. Then that was just the first day. So we had the whole rest of the weekend for practice, you know. So, you know, the rest of that day I was playing terrible because I was like trying to prove that I didn't suck. And then the next day I played terrible because I was still trying to prove that I didn't suck. Turns out, you know, if you got to prove that you don't suck, you gotta suck, you know. So Jeremy says, yeah, you know, Jeremy let me know if we ever have a practice again, you know, you're welcome to come to any practices that they have, you know. He'll just, you know, let me know whenever they're having practice, you know. So I'm like, you know, bet, let me know whenever y'all are having practice, I'll be back up here, you know. So I sat my butt in the car for 10 hours on the way home, you know, sulking that I didn't get to play that well. But, you know, we had practice again, you know, the next, I don't know however long. It was just every practice after that one, you know, I was there, and I was going to be the first guy there, the first or the last one to leave, always at practice, always doing what I can, you know, and I run drills after practice. So finally for Virginia, that's kind of when Jeremy let me know, you know, you'll be playing with us at Virginia and then playing at Cup. And then now we're in the next season on the team.
It's great though, you know, and honestly, yeah, but think about it. It's kind of like, okay, you're going up to face J-Rab. So, you know, in a lot of ways you got nothing to lose, but everyone that you had to play one-on-ones that day, it's like, you don't want the boot rookie that just showed up that, like, is he going to be on the team? Is he not going to be on the team? Like, no one knows, but that guy can't beat you in a one-on-one. So you're going to get, you should be getting everyone's best game. Hopefully, you know, that's you want to be dialed in because you don't want to get embarrassed. Because that's what's at stake. But that's when, you know, that's why I loved when I called you on the phone. I was like, so you want in on this? You're like, well, first of all, you came up to me like, hey, I want a spot in the Ultimate Shootout. And I was like, oh, this is what I want. I want guys to come up and be like, yo, get me in there, right? And so I was thinking, I was like, okay. And then you talked a little shit to Nick, and I was like, okay, cool. But I didn't know, honestly, if you were ready from, and I'm down to throw lambs to the slaughter. But I didn't. I don't want the lambs, you know, feet tied behind their backs as they're going against the Lions. I want to know what the deal is here. But then you had some good points out there 2 weekends ago. So I'm thinking, okay, cool. I was like, he wants to get in there. He had some good points, and then I asked around a little bit. Some guys had some good things to say about you. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, let's give this dude his shot. And then when we talked, I was like, okay, well, do you care who you play? And you're like, no problem. Again, I want people that just like Jeremy, I want people that are down, like you said, down. Oh, you drove 10 hours to go play. You're going to show up there first. You'll play every single dude in one-on-ones. You'll grind and play every single point. Like that's what people want. These people that want that are running teams or top level guys that are looking for new talent to come up. Like they don't want some guy they have to hold their goddamn hand all the time who thinks they're God's gift to the game because they were good in Division 2. Like that's not what everyone's looking for, man. That ain't gonna cut it. No one cares about those dudes. Those dudes may get it. If you're really good, maybe then you'll get a tryout. And you better slaughter everyone because again, we don't really care who you are, where you're from, what you look. No one cares. All we can this is a Pirates life, dude. We're taking prizes. Are you gonna help us take prizes? Okay, cool. Then you can be on the team. But you also got to swab the decks occasionally because we're all on this ship together. And that's kind of the situation. So. But that's when I started hearing those things. I'm like, all right, let's get this guy, let's get this guy a chance. But then I asked you, I was like, do you care who you play? And I was hoping that you were going to be like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if I got, like I don't know who's going to be in it. No, you were like, I don't care. I'll play anybody. I was like, well, what about Justin Rabackoff? You're like, yeah, let's go. I'm down. Let's do it. And I was like, okay, cool. This is the type, this is what we need, So I'm pretty happy, that the Outlaws are filling up with some guys that are I'm happy that you're coming in an Ultimate Shootout because you seem like you got a good head on your shoulders and you really want this and you're working your ass off for it. I'm happy that the Outlaws are loading up a little bit. Let's kind of talk about the Outlaws. Yeah, we've got a lot of guys. Is a team, if we go back to the year Houston Heat won the World Cup 2 years ago and Dynasty won it this year. But so the Outlaws took 15th. But they had a 9th. It was 9th, 13th, 17th, 15th, and then 20th. So this has kind of been a story. If we went and looked at every year, it's kind of a similar story. Couple events, flirt with the Sunday, make a Sunday here or there. It's very rare, but sometimes in the mix going 2-2. Sometimes, but constantly losing, very close games occasionally against decent teams, and then or they'll have way too many penalties and get frustrated and they get blown out. It's a similar story with different faces. That, as a person watching it from the sidelines, drives me a little bit crazy because it's like, okay, well, these are fixable things here. Be very hard. If you want to fix penalties, be very hardcore on yourselves in practice. Call penalties on yourselves. Go out on bounces. And if you want to get better at, simulate close points. Do situational awareness drills so you're not throwing away 5-on-3s. And those are how you fix those two problems. These are fixable things. So tell me a little bit about some of your teammates that you feel are going to make a difference this year. So it looks like Stupula's coming back. And then obviously, Mr. Consistent Fred Berkeley, who did, very well, made it. He'll be in the finale at the Ultimate Shootout. But just, talk to me about the team a little bit from your perspective. Hopefully.
Yeah. So, so we've got, a lot of guys that we picked up. What do we have? Louis. So Louis is one of the guys. He's ranked D4, on APPA, right? But the practice before Cup, we're doing snapshot drills, just getting warmed up. Louis snap shoots every single one of us, probably 4 or 5 times through until where finally we're just like, Louis, somebody else has to play. Get off the box, get out of the bunker. Let somebody else play. V is just he's one of the he's just an amazing snake player. We love having him. He's really aggressive. He's what a snake player should be. He's 4 foot nothing and fast as lightning. Who else do we got? We just picked up Cage Henderson from the Prospects at the Invitational.
Oh, okay.
He's going to be playing at the next Invitational with us. Okay. So he's hopefully another good pickup. I haven't seen him yet, but we're hopeful for him. And then Michael Unger played with Aftermath last.
Yeah, I was just saying. No, sorry. Yeah, go. I was gonna throw some names at you if you had kind of got through the guys you want to talk about. But Unger was one of those. Well, that's because here's the thing. I asked Berkeley. I was like, hey, Fred, give me some insight into these dudes. Who's going to be on the team? Who's trying out? And he's like, Matty, I'm not exactly. I can give you the names and the numbers of these guys, but we're still kind of figuring this all out. And, we want to put a talented team out there that's not going to suck, so we can actually try to make a run at some Sundays here this year at these events. So then he gave me the list, and I saw, and the only two guys that had been on the team before was Stapula and Berkeley. And it's kind of, other that, a bunch of new dudes. It was Ricky Smith, Joe Allen, Vidal, Unger, Tyler Osborne. So I'm just wondering, like, are all these guys going to be coming now? Cage Henderson, which he didn't have bad looks. I mean, the prospects were in a tough. That was a tough spot for those dudes. I mean, they're going against actually formed teams, and some of those, there's a couple guys on that squad, and I will give them credit for showing up, but they never played a tournament before. Anyway, but so let's talk about Unger. I thought Unger had a couple decent looks out there.
Yeah, Unger had a lot of good looks. I think Unger was playing great. But honestly, I haven't played with him all too much. That was the first time I played with him. I just know him as a person, and I love him as a person. Like, Unger's, he's an amazing guy. He's funny. He's a great person to be around. But he's very creative, when he plays, or, when he was playing with us. He's very creative. He knows kind of exactly when to make the right move. Stays alive, talks well. And then, he's just a good person to play with.
What about Ricky Smith? Because I saw Ricky out there. He was literally the first dude.
Amen.
Well, Ricky was the first dude. He was the first dude at the field. When I roll up, I got my coffee, I got my little, breakfast sandwich. I roll up, and there's only one guy out there who's on the field at the time. Maybe other people had come out before I got there. I mean, I wasn't the only person at the field so far, but it was kind of early. And there's Ricky out there walking the field. I'm like, Ricky. I'm like, damn, bro, you're here early. Good for you. And he's like, early? He's like, dude, I already got a workout in. I was like, damn, son. Okay, well, good for you.
Yeah, Ricky's like that. He came to his first practice with the Outlaws, and I think he was probably at the field at like 5 or 6 a.m. He's gonna be the first person there. He's going to be the first person there. That's my boy, though. We're not the TMG Outlaws anymore. We're the BLM Outlaws right now, because we got me and Ricky now. We're the Black Lives Matter Outlaws. That's my boy, man, and we play on the D side together. But Ricky's another fast guy. He stays alive super, super well. I think he's kind of rivaling Fred. He's going to be alive at the end of a point. And then he's been playing for forever, so he's got a whole lot of knowledge about the game and how to play, and when to make the right moves and when to do what, and communicates very well. He's just a really good guy on and off the field. Man, I love Ricky. I was just talking to him earlier today. I need to get down to Florida, and we got to play together, because the other guys up north can't play right now. They're covered in snow. But yeah, Ricky's my boy.
So what about I'm trying to think when the other guy, there was Vidal had some good points. Kind of everyone here or there. Look, I know it's not the best team there was Damage. It's a little bit of a chill atmosphere there. I mean, everyone's intense, but still, it's a little bit more of a chill. It's not like quite the NXL vibe as far as the pressure is concerned. But kind of everyone on the Outlaws here or there had a point where I was like, oh, okay, well, that was a decent look. Oh, okay, that was all right over there. So there was some good to work with. So I just think that moving forward, you guys Jeremy has some clay to mold. Jeremy and Fred have some clay to mold.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just we've got other guys. We've got Joe. Joe, I think he's been playing with the Outlaws for a while. He's just a returning player. He broke his leg a few months ago, so now he's finally healed up. And he's able to play again. And then, it's just we're trying to work. We're trying to get better, as a team. I think kind of we do have a lot of issues with penalties, and I haven't been on the team long enough to really speak on it. But from what I've seen over the year, or over the past footage is what I mean, is the Outlaws have had a problem with penalties, and I think it's kind of because really we have a lot of guys filtering in and out and in and out and in and out, and everybody's kind of trying to work and get playing time, really, and you don't want to be the first guy to die, and that's kind of, it's a blessing and a curse having a lot of guys on one team trying to make trying to get playing time. because you've always got somebody pushing the better players to get better, and somebody's always moving the ship forward. But it's kind of like when they do get that spot, since you don't want to be the first guy dead, maybe you try and get away with something that you shouldn't, or maybe you try and stay in a little bit longer or whatever, and it's always going to get a penalty. You're always going to get a penalty for it, and it kind of sucks. But the team is what it is. We've got things to work on, and I think we're all kind of going in the same direction right now. And I really believe when we get to this next to this next invitational, we'll probably be an even better team than what we were this past event. I think we've got, steady progression going with us right now. And, I'm just happy to be here and happy to keep it going. I'm trying to get as good as I can. And I've been trying to work as much as I can, trying to get as good as I can, as fast as I can. It's hard, being in Atlanta. I don't really have anybody to really teach me all too much, other than, Lane and talk to Jeremy as much as I can. We don't have any local teams around here that are, high divisional teams.
Well, hey man, that's up to you to build then. You're not old, so you got some time. You could build a whole team down there. Maybe one day we'll have a pro team run by Christian Collins coming out of Atlanta. So start thinking about what name that you're going to have for that team, because I'm expecting big things from you. But no, man, it's just cool to see. We need grinders. We need people that are willing to do what you're doing. If you want to be on a team, any pro team, that's what we're kind of looking for. So I think that's really cool. And when I started hearing your story, I was, maybe it reminded me of the stuff we had to do back in the day to try to, become something in this sport. And it just requires, a lot of times it requires getting in your car and driving places and looking for the best game you possibly can. But please do me a favor. And I've told this to Fred. I've told it to anyone that will listen on the Outlaws. You guys need to be calling penalties on yourselves in practice. Like, don't, a lot of times people get lazy on penalties in practice, where one guy will run one guy down, that guy will spin, shoot the other guy, and then it's like, oh, just both come off. And now you're going back into the point, and everyone's just looking at it. Just know that you can't do that. It builds in bad tendencies.
You've got to be ultra sensitive.
And then because you have a newer group of guys and guys that are trying to fight for relevancy and respect in the pro division, if you go and just play points at your practices, then you're just hoping you get into learning moments. Just skip right to the learning moments. I know it's not fun, and it's I know it's more difficult mentally when you're practicing each other, particularly, and also from a structural standpoint too, as to what drills you're going to run and when. But running situational awareness drills and being ruthless with each other about mistakes made and what needs to happen, whether you're trying to score 2 points in a minute and a half, or you're in a high body situation versus a low body situation, and what you're supposed to do in those moments. Again, if you go play points, you're hoping that the learning situation happens and that everyone's taking something from that. If you play situational awareness drills, you are instantly in a learning moment. And if you have a little powwow afterwards where everyone discusses what happened, everyone gets to learn the lesson. It will rocket ship a team. This is for anyone listening. It will rocket ship you to better play, to having better results. This shit is expensive, man. It takes time away from your life. So if you're gonna, and so if you want, and winning is awesome. We're doing this all to be good. Everyone wants that glory, and that's the whole reason you're doing it, is because you don't want to go out and get murdered on the weekend. So I'm telling you, I talked to so many up and coming teams, and I ask them, they're like, well, we want to get better. We need this and that, a coach or equipment, this or that. I'm like, well, how do you run your practices? Like, we get together and play points. I'm like, oh, dude, facepalm hard. What are you guys doing? Stop making this harder on yourselves. So anyway, that's what just had to tell you that, dude, because it drives me crazy, because I keep hearing the same story all the time from a lot of the similar teams. And it's like, dude, these are fixable things. Like, these are learnable skills.
Yeah. So we most of the time when we are at practice with the Outlaws, it's all situationals. We really don't get a chance to do all too many, 5-on-5 points to play against, another team or anything like that. Last year we had Aftermath that was right next to us, so they came down a few times to practice. But other than that, most of the time when we practice, we're doing situational drills. It's just kind of, I don't know. We do need to be way more sensitive on the penalties, and we need to play bounces and everything like that more. because as you can see, penalties have been a huge plague for us. I think I watched one of one of the games from this past weekend, and we had like 8 penalties. It was ridiculous. We got to get better on that.
Well, the penalties, absolutely. Look, when you go out to practice, what's happening? You're playing with marbles, shooting practice paint at each other most of the time, unless you're
exactly
one of the most heavy, even the heavily sponsored teams. Sometimes you practice paint sucks.
Yeah,
it just is what it is.
Paint,
And so when you go out and play practice and you're shooting marbles at each other, if you're not being honest about bounces, you don't always have to go out on bounces, but it really does help. Or at least be very active about understanding from an accuracy standpoint off the break, and then it really can help. Maybe you don't have to do it for the whole day, but it's one of those things it's pretty key. And just being honest, like when because a lot of times you go up to a dude and be like, "Hey, did I bounce you when you're out there?" "No, you didn't shoot me. I was fine." And it's like, okay, well, this isn't really helping. Again, we're out here trying to get better at this so we can have our best look when it's actually important. But again, and with the exactly, but also, I mean, you're an athlete. You're a jack monster. Did you grow up playing sports?
Yeah, always. I don't think I've ever not played sports.
What?
But I played everything.
Did you play base? Did you play? Okay, so you played baseball and football, right? Okay. How much baseball and football do you get to play when you go to practice playing baseball and football growing up?
None. It's
none.
It's all drills, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't do any of that. When I played baseball or football, we played football one time a week against the rival high school or against a high school. That's it.
Yeah.
That's who you play. You play football at the game. Baseball, dude, we're lucky to even get batting practice after. We want to get you Jones for the batting practice. Scrimmages, inter-squad scrimmages almost never happen. You went out there at practice and you took grounders and fly balls and hit cutoff men and did situational, dude on second, it's 2 outs. And then, you're bunting for an hour. Like you were just doing, that's all we did. So when you got to, when I came to paintball, it just blew my mind that everyone would just go out and just play games. And again, I understand paintball is expensive. So if you're a divisional team and you guys just want to have a great time, dude, by all means, go have a great time. But if you're serious about getting better, there's a way to do that. All right. So for sure. So last couple questions, I just got to ask you, your thoughts, your last thoughts here on the Ultimate Shootout. So, I'm glad that you answered the call. Well, actually, you came home almost demanded that I put you in it. You were like, "Yo, hey Matty, if there's any spots left open, dude, I want to get in it in that Ultimate Shootout. Dude, let's get me in that." And I was like, "All right, well." So give me your last thoughts here, and then also, and we don't know. So, and then who else would you want to play in the second one? Because we have not. So how it works is we're going to film 2 Ultimate Shootouts in one day. And everyone's got to keep the secret as we figure out, who's going to win them as everyone watches it at home. It's like filming a reality show. But in that second one, so the first one, 5, you're going to match up with J-Rab. I don't know who you're going to match up. You get 2 chances, So now we're going to set you in the quarterfinals. So it will probably be either Ronnie, Billy, or Harris. I mean, I'm guessing maybe just because you've seen Harris so much at these, I don't know, would it be Harris or maybe Billy or Ronnie? Like, who do you think you would want
Harris.
I don't know. You think Harris?
Me and Harris got a foot race. Apparently, I think Psalm said he was. Jeremy said Harris said he could beat me in a race or something like that. That's not happening.
I don't think so. I don't think that's happening.
If I want to play anybody else, it'd probably be Ronnie. A lot of respect for Billy, but seeing how much Ronnie does his drills and how well he plays, I'd probably have to play against Ronnie, and he's another aggressive guy, small, fast guy, and it's just I'd absolutely want to play him, and then Billy, I want to play whoever's best, I don't really care who it is. If you're one of the top guys, I want to play against you.
I like that. It's like you and I had this discussion that it's a fun movie because it's the Battle of Troy, but Brad Pitt as Achilles, when he's hanging out with all those chicks in the morning after, hooking up with all of them at night and getting hammered on some delicious wine from 5,000 years ago. And then a little kid comes and wakes him up and he's like, "You got to go fight the giant." And then Achilles gets on the horse and he's like, "You're going to fight the giant? I wouldn't want to fight the giant." And Achilles is like, "That's why no one's ever going to remember your name," as he rides off to glory. Yeah. So badass scene. And so you got to go fight the giant and Justin Rabackoff in the first one.
Yeah.
Even though I'm just going to let everyone know in the Ultimate Shootout that because things get heated out there. Be careful. I don't think Christian's the one that you need to pop off to and like swing on. I'm just going to throw that this as a public service announcement to everyone in the Ultimate Shootout.
Nah, I'm a gentle giant.
Man. Wait.
I might talk a little bit of trash, but it don't mean nothing.
Well, Christian, I really do appreciate you sitting down with us and having this discussion. Hopefully this will be the first of many. I'm very interested in what the Outlaws are going to do this year. I've known Jeremy for a long time, and you know, I wish that he could get a group of guys together for long enough to see if they can learn the lessons they need to try to make a run at some consistent Sundays, and then see where they go from there. And I'm very much looking forward to heading out to Texas here for this Ultimate Shootout. Any last thoughts? Anything else you want to say? Anything you want to talk about before we sign off?
I don't know. Got to let everybody know I'm coming. You know, in the Ultimate Shootout, I'm gonna win for sure. You know, Justin, he's a chump. Ronnie, a chump. Billy Bernacchi, a chump. Harris Hussein, call him Hamburger Hussein. He's a chump. AJ and Austin Buffton, chumps. Sam Silberg, chomp.
Hamburger Hussein.
But, you know, other than that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's helped me along the way. You know, Lane and Jeremy, they've helped me so much. And really, you know, kind of everybody that I've really played with. You know, I don't know if you know Will Arroyo. Will Arroyo is the man.
Oh yeah.
But those guys, all the guys on Ground Zero, all the guys on Docks, you know, everyone, you know, and I got to give a huge shout out to Gant, you know, for teaching me how to play. But really, you know, that's kind of it. Oh, I have to shout out to one of my best buddies, girl, Caitlin Scanlon. You know, I have to give her a shout out, you know, because she got mad at me for not giving her one in the last podcast I did. But other than that, you know, all my friends, you know, appreciate everyone.
Well, hey, Christian Collins, man, I'm looking forward to seeing how your career develops. I mean, you kind of just got here, but it's been a very interesting road for you so far. Team Extreme, Saber Wolves, Outlaws, Ground Zero. I mean, it's kind of been around the block a little bit so far. So, and again, you kind of just got here. So, and you're young. I'm looking forward to it, bro. I'm not saying don't let us down because you got a lot of time. You don't got to do it all right away, but I am happy that you're going to be in the Ultimate Shootout. Good luck against Justin Rabackoff, as he's nasty. I would advise you to go and watch Matt Jackson's win at Ultimate Shootout 1 because the way he plays the game is kind of probably I was going to say, that's kind of probably what you're going to see at a Justin Rabackoff. We are going to be having LJ Woodley on the show next Tuesday to talk about his move to Tampa Bay Damage. And we'll have the rest of the guys from Ultimate Shootout on as we kind of lead up to episode 1 of season 5 coming out. But again, Christian, thank you so much. Really appreciate you sitting down with me, and best of luck this year with the Outlaws, and best of luck here this not this weekend, but upcoming. I'll see you out there in Texas. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man. Absolutely.